I want to make the declaration that it is an incredibly meaningful and important thing to do to share our crafts with others. Hello, my friends. It's Chatterday. Maybe. I don't know. Should that be a thing? We'll play with it. Today, with the many various holidays coming up in which we tend to gather with our loved ones, I wanted to have a little chat with you about our personal craftfluencers. I don't mean, the ones online that you follow here on YouTube or on Instagram, TikTok, or wherever else. Those are great, and they play an important role, I think. Of course, I'm assuming that if you're viewing this video, you are a crafter of some sort or would like to be, but I wanted to talk to you about the people in your personal life that may or may not be your personal craftfluencers. Specifically, I want to touch on that not part. If you have someone in your life who does a craft and they haven't shared it with you, that you should ask them to. This is the point of this video. There are two sides to this. There's the side if you have another crafter in your life that could be sharing their craft with you. And there is you, the crafter, and who you could be sharing that with. And I know this is easier said than done. And I might touch on my own experiences in this realm a little bit, but many of us are incredibly fortunate to have people in our lives who craft. But that doesn't mean that that person or those people have imparted their knowledge. And I just wanted to take a little moment to talk about how important it is. So, story time. I've had some losses this year. Two of them were crafters. And one of them, I had kind of hoped I'd have the opportunity at some point in the future to share my craft with. I'm trying to decide how deep I want to go into these personal losses because I don't want to be a downer. At the same time, it's just chat, it's story time. This is what life is. And a big part of the reason I wanted to make this particular video is as a tribute, especially to the most recent one. To begin with, last January, we lost my Grandma Crane, my last grandparent. She was a sewer. She sewed her clothes. She sewed her own clothes. And I always knew this, and I have a couple of the things that she made in, ripe polyester, scratchy, typical, basic 70s polyester, but, she sewed her own clothes, and I knew this. But I never saw her do it. In the summer, we had another loss, and it was one that put this channel on hold for a while. We lost my 18-year-old nephew, unexpectedly from a medical issue. I never got his permission to have him on my channel, but I was hoping to. He was a busy high school senior and then having his senior summer time of his life. So he wasn't interested in any of the things that I really was hoping to get to offer him at some point. But of course, you think you have the time. I don't think any of my crafts would ever have interested him, but I still kind of had in my mind, like, maybe I can convince him to try something. And I wanted to have him on this channel, and I wanted to share one of my crafts with him at some point when he was ready. And of course that time didn't come. And then just a couple of weeks ago, the world lost another shining light. Someone I have not seen in over 20 years, but who was and always will be in my mind, my stepmom. She and my dad divorced right after I finished high school, I think. I don't remember the exact year. She moved across the country to be with her children. This is a woman who helped raise me. I may have only seen her on weekends and holidays and things like that, but she and my dad had married when I was 4. So I didn't know a life. I had no memory of a life without her. as a child growing up. And so even though she was no longer in my life when I became an adult, even though I had not seen her in decades, and even though I was rubbish at keeping in touch, she has always been my stepmom. And she has always been very dear to me and very special. And part of that is because of the everlasting gifts that she gave me. She taught me to cross stitch. I remember in the 80s, my dad and stepmom would sit up in bed at night to watch TV, and I would crawl in between them, and we would watch Golden Girls, and my stepmom would cross stitch. And it's just such a... It's not a vivid memory, but it is a vivid feeling. Just being in that space. And, you know, later we would watch Empty Nest. And even later, I think Tracy Ullman. After the 80s, I don't know if she was still cross-stitching in the 90s. I don't know. Maybe it was a passing fancy that she had. You know, some of us, we do crafts for like a year and then we move on. Maybe that's all it was for her. I have no idea. When it was fresh, I made a little recording. They were meant to be just notes for myself for filming it better, for filming it now. But in all honesty, past Lindsay said it much better. So I'm just going to let her take over for a minute, and I will meet you back here when she's done. If you have the opportunity, if there's a person in your life who does these crafts, if there is even the slightest, remotest inkling of a notion that you might one day want to try that craft, to have that person teach you something in that craft, have them teach you, or at least if they don't want to teach you, like, try and observe them, try and be in the room when they're doing it and see what they do so you can kind of absorb some of that by osmosis. Because when you have, if that person is someone that you care deeply for, if that is someone that is special to you, every time you do that craft, you will think of them. Then every time you do it, you have them with you again. And then I also want to talk about how, like, if you are the person who is teaching someone else, you know, your craft, even if you don't know if they ever do it again, like, I think that is still so special and so important that you gave them that. It's a seed. You plant a seed and it's still there. And maybe they don't cultivate it for a long time, but it can still blossom so much later. It's really worth recognizing what it can mean to impart your knowledge on someone and to be taught by someone that you care about. Joanne, she only taught me cross stitch, and I think I stitched a house. I don't know if it just happened one night or if I came back a few nights to finish it. I don't know. But I never forgot that she's the one who taught me that, you know. And when I went to pick it back up, I kind of already, you know, had that inkling. I knew what to do. I knew what I wanted to do. Like, I remembered enough to know how to do it. And there were other crafts that I easily picked up because she taught me that, you know. I remember actually making her a plastic canvas needlepoint carousel horse. I've actually seen the kit and I've been tempted to buy it again for like the past few months. I don't know if she actually liked it, but you know, in my mind at the time, I think it was probably junior high or early high school. I had chosen to make her something like that because she taught me to cross stitch. Like, it was a direct connection. And, you know, then later, you know, when I decided to try embroidery, like, that wasn't a big step because she taught me to cross stitch. And all of these other crafts, they follow in suit because she taught me that one thing that one time. They just so easily blossomed out of that one seed from that maybe one night. And so I think of her all the time. And every time I do crafts, I don't know, I just really want to impart to you that the people who receive your knowledge, it might mean more to them than they even realize. And so even if they don't say anything, I feel like you can still take that to heart, you know? Will you come say hi? Cool. You been drinking some water? You're all wet. Will you say hi? No, they can't see you. Say hi. There. There he is. Why are you all wet? So I don't know that I know where to pick up from there. I just want to reiterate that I feel like it's so important to allow space for those connections to happen. You know, there is actually another person that isn't necessarily gone, but honestly, I don't know. My aunt, my dad's sister, was my favorite person growing up, I think. And she did crochet. She made many things for us. She made the little Lindsay. That's a little puppet doll that I keep, you know, usually behind me somewhere. It's over on the bookshelf right now. I have video of her with a marionette that she made that, you know, we were just thrilled with. And so anyway, she crocheted. She made us things. We knew she crocheted. I even have video of Christmas one year when she got like this big laundry basket full of yarn, and all three of us kids were just like, oh, look what you got. We were so excited for her, you know. But I never saw her do it. Not once. Like, she never crocheted in my presence. And I feel like if she had, that would give me something more to connect to her with. I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her in 20 years or more. And nobody has. It's kind of, it's not a loss in the same way, but it's again one of those things where if I had been able to have that connection with her, if she had taught me crochet, you know, I could still at least have her here with me now, even though I don't know where in the world she is. But that is something that I have with my stepmom. It's a gift that keeps on giving, because every time I cross stitch, I think of her. And it's a gift that keeps on giving because it's a skill that I have now because of her. I think when you can teach something to someone, it is something that they can continually draw from. And it doesn't even matter if that's not the thing that they end up doing. Like I said, you never know what that seed will bloom into. But the important thing is that the seed is there. So as we move into the holiday season and we begin to spend time with our loved ones, make sure you take that opportunity to plant those seeds if they haven't been already. If you do have a family member that does a craft that you haven't seen them do, try and be in their presence when they do it. Allow yourselves to bear witness to the making that your loved ones do. Ask them to share it with you. They may not want to teach you. That's their prerogative. Maybe they don't feel capable. Maybe they don't have the patience. Who knows? That's okay. Even if they do teach you and they teach you wrong, like, you can learn elsewhere. The important thing is not that you learn it from them necessarily, but that you have those moments where you are learning from them. You know, even if you have to relearn it, even if you have to go supplement from somewhere else. But the fact that you sat there, that they shared it with you, is the important part. And similarly, the other direction, you know, if you have someone to share your craft with, that you take those moments. And if they're not interested, which a lot of children won't be, you know, that's understandable. But still, do it in their presence. Let them see you do it. Let them absorb some of that, because you never know what they're going to witness, like out of the corner of their eye. Maybe they'll be curious, maybe they won't. I did teach some students to embroider. So although I will never see these children again, they will not remember me at all because they were like 5 years old. But there are some people in this world now who know how to embroider because I shared that with them. And who knows what they'll do with it in the future. It does kind of feel good to know that I planted that seed. I feel like giving them the opportunity to witness you do that craft is also a seed. You can never know what's going to live in their memory. and what they might come back to later. Maybe it was a passing thing, but it's a lasting connection. Speaking as a person who was aware of the crafting that happened in my family, yet never witnessed, I do wish I had seen them do it. Like, I would have been more confident, maybe even started these things a little sooner in my life if I kind of had that greater connection. And, there are people in my family that did crafts that I didn't even know until recently. Turns out my other aunt crocheted things for us. This right here was always on a chair or a couch. It was always there, always present my entire life growing up. And I'd never thought twice about where it came from. Turns out my aunt made it. Not my dad's sister, but my other aunt. And I didn't even know that she had crocheted. Never mind something this gorgeous, which my mom has tasked me with the mission of repairing it. So we'll see if I can figure that out. That's for a future video. But yeah, like, I didn't even know she did that. And turns out I also learned recently that my Grandma Crane taught my dad to sew, was very insistent that he know how to sew. And I had no idea that my dad knows how to sew. I mean, he doesn't do it, but apparently he did. Before I was born, my mom needed a dress for something and he made it for her. So, like, I would have loved to see that. I think he took it more as an engineering challenge. But, still, it's something that I wish I had known sooner. Oh, there is actually another crafter in my family. I don't know how I could forget. Okay, this one did share with us. My Grandpa Crane did woodwork. So, and we would help him in his shop sometimes. And when I dig into my mom's Christmas ornaments, I really hope to find some that we made with him. We cut a whole bunch of shapes out on his jigsaw. Although my sister might have them, or they could be gone. I don't know. All I know is I don't have any of them, and I would like to see them again. But he did share his woodcrafting with us in that way. And I did actually do some of that. I was a scenic carpenter in college, and part of that confidence probably came from being in my grandpa's wood shop. So how could I forget? There's something tangible in crafting. Not only, having the product when it's finished that you can look at and think of that person. It's continual because you can always make new things and you can be thinking of them with every single stitch. It's much more integrated into your being, I guess, when the connection that you have with a person is an activity that you can do. There's this kind of tangible, physical thread connecting you, and not everybody gets that. I understand what it's like to not have those crafts because, although my grandma sewed and my aunt crocheted and I never witnessed it, and I didn't pick those crafts up until I was an adult. I'm only just now learning to sew garments. The point is not necessarily the learning. The point is the connecting. The point is to be able to think of them when you do that craft. Every time I cross stitch, I think of my stepmom. Like, she's right here with me every time I do it. And because so many other crafts followed out of my ability to cross stitch, I think of her when I do the other crafts too, because that was the seed that everything else bloomed from. And also, side note, she's also the one that my puzzling hobby comes from. When I was a kid, I was at my dad's house, there were all these puzzles there, and I would do them all the time. And then as an adult, I thought, I want to do a puzzle. I should get the one that I used to do as a kid. And when my dad scoffed at the idea of puzzles, I realized, oh, they were her puzzles. So she also gave me that, the video I did where I cross-stitched my puzzle. Like, she was so deeply on my mind during that whole thing, because here are the two things that I got from her. It doesn't even have to be a craft. Share your passion with them. Let them witness you doing the thing that you love to do even when you're like tucked up, cozy in your own home. Let them share that with you. Let them witness it, because you never know what effect that will have. And it may not have an immediate effect. It might be 10, 20, 30 years down the road. You never know when that might bloom. I feel like I've seen recently, particularly on Reddit, people talking about, I'm going to this family gathering. Is it okay if I take this thing with me and like take my project with me, and or is that rude, or blah, blah, blah. And you know, at the time I didn't really think anything of it. When my stepmom passed, I was just immediately struck by how special it was that she shared that with me. And she might not have done so if I hadn't seen her do it. It was so important to me that I witnessed her do that. And it feels like a loss to me that I did not witness my Grandma Crane sew and my Aunt Sue crochet. And I just had never realized before that not seeing them do those things feels a little bit like a cheat, you know? Let your loved ones see you, especially the younger ones, because, you know, odds are they're gonna outlive you. But then that's something that they will have to hold on to you with. And I think for that reason, it is actually very important that you do take your project to your family function. Let your loved ones witness you do your craft. Let your loved ones bear witness to your passion, so they have the opportunity to learn it from you, to absorb it from you, and to connect with you through it, whether now or later in their lives. Who knows what they'll want to do with it in the future. You know, like I said, my stepmom taught me to cross stitch when I was a child, and I don't have any memory of cross stitching again until late in high school. And I didn't really seriously pick it up again until quite recently. But I already knew how. I knew what I was doing because she gave me that so long ago, and I had that to draw on. And, you know, all of my other crafts, they came from having that. It branched out in a lot of ways that you wouldn't necessarily think, but I know that a lot of it has its root in that moment. It may have been one single night, and it started a whole lot of things. And it took 30 years to do so, but it did it. It did. It's such an everlasting act. It is that tangible thread. It's such a beautiful thing. You know, it's something that I was aware of in the periphery, that this was a wonderful thing, that some people have their loved ones who sit and teach them to sew, teach them to crochet, teach them to knit. They learn it through their family, you know, kind of a hereditary gift. Not everybody has that. And so when it is present, we need to grab it and treasure it. And I also think I want to emphasize that if you have been that person, if you have taught someone a craft, they may never say it, they may never know it, but you did an amazing thing. You have given them a gift that they may not even understand the importance of. You know, there's so many things that steer us in our lives and influence the way that we think about the things that happen, the way that we view the world, and working with our hands, doing these handcrafts. It's one of those things that just can change our perspective just that little bit. You know, also, if you don't have a personal craftfluencer, you know, that happens too. And, you know, that's why we're here. Sometimes we do need to find those surrogates to share their crafts with us and teach us these things. So that is when these videos, YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all of that, come into play. I don't currently have anybody in my life that I can talk to about my crafts. I have myself used, you know, YouTube as a bit of a surrogate. I feel like there's gotta be other people like me who enjoy watching crafts they don't do, precisely because it feels like that family member. You kind of absorb some of that by osmosis. And so I watch videos for crafts that I don't currently do, because there may come a day when I want to. And they're kind of like that stand-in for having the loved one in the room working on their own craft and me just kind of observing a little bit. I just wanted to take that moment to point out that if the opportunity is there, that we make sure and take it. I think I'm going to end it there. I really hope that you have enjoyed this chat, and I would love to hear all about your craftfluencers down below. Tell me who they were, tell me what they taught you or didn't teach you. If there's someone that's still around that you have the opportunity to still learn from, you know, are you gonna finally do it? Are you gonna say, hey, I want you to teach me that? Even if it's something you're not actually interested in doing now, have them teach it to you, right? Or if you have been that craftfluencer, you know, I wanna hear that too. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this has given you something to think about. If you enjoy this chatty video, make sure to give this one a like. I know my last one didn't get a lot of views, so maybe this isn't a thing we'll continue with, but I just really wanted to have this moment to, in essence, pay tribute to my stepmom. If you love to watch people do their craft, this is the place for you, because I love to share videos of sewing, knitting, crochet, cross stitch, needlepoint, embroidery. If it has a string and a stick, I will probably do it. I love to share my process with you and my projects with you, and I particularly love to do crafts from the 70s and 80s. So if any of that appeals to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.